We're sitting with Louis Giglio, and Pastor. People know you obviously a lot from Passion. They've seen a lot of stuff online. They may have gone to one of these massive events, that kind of thing. Rewind the clock a little bit about your background and kind of how you came up, and even how you found Jesus and become saved and that kind of thing, and then decide to answer that call in your life to go into ministry.
Yeah, I grew up in a great church here in Atlanta, and I knew of Jesus and about Jesus from day one. Put my faith in him as an 11-year-old, was baptized. A lot of people who grew up in church have that story. But really it was my freshman year at Georgia State University that I think I became a Christian. And I'm not doubting, the decision I made when I was 11 and the fact that I know I loved God a lot when I was a teenager. But when you get to the crossroads of life, and I think a lot of us know what that means, where you can chart out your course one way or the other, that's where you decide whether Jesus is just somebody that you like a lot or whether he truly is Lord and he is going to be the Lord of your life. And that happened for me at about 2 o'clock in the morning, kneeling down by my bed in our modest apartment I grew up in Atlanta. I'd been to a party that night, and I knew that I was coming to some crossroads in my future, and I'd been able somehow in high school to navigate both roads, running with the world and running with the church. But I knew those days were coming to an end, and I was going to need to make a decision. And I decided that night that I wanted to follow Jesus, and I wanted my life to be lived for him. Very soon after that, he called me into preaching, which was a complete left turn for me. I didn't see that coming. It made sense once he did. I was like, oh, you set me up for this. But that's not what I was planning on doing with my life. And I said yes to that call, and honestly, the rest is history. I'm not smart enough to have planned out the path I've been on. I didn't really set out to do anything I've done. I just set out to love Jesus and to tell anybody about him that he would give me the opportunity to do. I didn't know I'd be on Winter Jam at 61. I didn't know passion would be in the equation, or I'd be a pastor or an author or a songwriter or any of that. I was just like, I love you, and I will go to the Lena Pope Children's Home in Fort Worth, Texas on Tuesday night and share with 75 high school kids who do not want to hear one thing about the gospel, if that's my assignment. And that's what I did for a couple of years. And one thing led to the next, and praise God, I still love Jesus. And if he gives me an opportunity to talk to him about him to someone, I'm going to take it.
That's great. I want to rewind because you said something that touched my heart there, where you said, I feel like God set me up for this. I kind of felt the same way. Like God puts the call in your life, you look back and go, oh man, I see all these different things you were doing all along. I'm the dummy that didn't see it happening, right? You kind of felt the same way?
Yeah, well, I was the president of my senior class in high school. I went to a big high school, and when our whole school would be together, be thousands of kids, and it wasn't unusual that I'd be on stage talking to them or rallying them towards some cause. Usually I'd come up with the cause, and I'd figured out what we were all going to do together, and now I'm on stage mobilizing an entire high school to move a certain direction, and that felt as natural to me as anything you could do in life. It wasn't weird. It wasn't overwhelming. I didn't feel nervous about it. I felt like, man, I can do this, and I'm going to do this. And then, a few months later, as a freshman in college, God calls me to preach, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm good at that. I mean, not saying that I'm the best at it, but it's like you wired me that way. You gifted me that way. You put all that inside of me, and I thought it was just so I could be, like the leader of the high school. But now I'm realizing you want me to take those same gifts and use them for your glory. And so I think it'd be very rare for God to call somebody and not to have in some way equipped them. And that doesn't mean, like Moses, obviously, it didn't feel like he was a very eloquent speaker, and neither did Paul, for that matter. But their experiences of life, what they'd been through, and how God had brought them through those experiences, both Moses and Paul, set them up to be the leader they needed to be in that moment. So God does in our lives what he needs to do in our lives and gets us into the right spot if we trust him. And I'm thrilled that I've had the privilege of telling people about him all my life.